Hello, this is Dr. Marty Klein with another video quickie. I just hate that your kids are getting their sex education from pornography. Most parents hate that, and I'm sure that you hate that too. And I wish that you would do something about it. I don't mean that we should get rid of porn. No, I mean let's give kids the sex education they need and deserve. Then they won't turn to porn for answers. And if they do look at porn, it won't be their only source of sexual information, values, and ideas. So if you don't want porn to be your kids' primary sex education, start by talking to them about sex. What to talk about? Here are a few ideas. Jason, your body is going to change and keep changing for your entire childhood and adolescence. Let's talk about what you can expect in the next year or two. Mariella, your feelings are going to change too. You're going to be noticing other kids' bodies and maybe want to hug or kiss someone. Maybe you'll wish you could see someone without their clothes. That isn't possible right now, but one day it will be. All these feelings are normal. Carlos, maybe you already touch yourself for sexual enjoyment. If not, you probably will sooner or later. It's fine to do that, although in private, please. How much is okay? Well, if you're late for school or other stuff because of it, that's not okay. And if you get sore where you usually stroke yourself, you're probably doing it too much. Now, kid, I hope you don't watch porn because it's made for adults, like cigars. Whether you watch it or not, I will tell you this. Real sex does not feel the way porn sex looks. Porn is not a documentary. Now, what else can parents do to minimize the impact of porn on kids' sexual literacy? Well, let's look at school. How about demanding that your kid's school provide some decent sex education? I know school is complicated enough with COVID, but school boards are still operating, still making decisions, and still determining what, if anything, the curriculum will say about sex. At the very least, you want to know what the school mandates, and you want to know if it's required to be medically accurate. In half the states, it isn't, and the federal government refuses to pass a law requiring this. You also want to make sure that your kid's school isn't using an abstinence-based curriculum, which states that sex can only be healthy, safe, and acceptable within marriage. Study after study shows that this kind of curriculum is associated with lower contraceptive use and self-care. At least try to get rid of the programs that rely on gender stereotypes and blatant misinformation about sexuality. Let's talk about the church for a second. If you belong to a church, how about requesting that it provide decent sex education for young people? Some denominations have quite progressive programs, for example, the Methodists. Almost every community has social workers or other professionals that a local church can bring in for one or more sessions, or have office hours for young people. Sex educators at Planned Parenthood can generally be trusted for this. At the very least, parents should pressure any religious group to which they belong to stop demonizing sex. For example, the false information that sex outside of marriage is physically or psychologically harmful, or that non-heterosexuals have disordered private lives, or that they can't love or parent the way that straight people do. Churches are free to have their values, but let's stop pretending that prejudices are facts. Then we have anti-porn activists. Anti-porn activists are getting in your way of effectively educating your kids around sexuality. Many of them are just obsessed with sex and sex problems. For example, the Parents Television Council complains about wretched and disgusting dolls that supposedly sexualize children. Everything having to do with the sexual questions, concerns, and feelings of young people is labeled pornographic or exploitive by such groups, which include Focus on the Family, too. Pretending that kids have no questions, or that their questions all have simple, non-sexual answers, teaches parents that ignorance, theirs and their kids, is best. It isn't, but that is what makes kids look to porn for answers. Well, now let's look at porn for a minute. It's critical to talk with your kids about porn, too. And that should not be the first conversation about sex that you have with them. The best conversation about porn would build on your previous parent-child conversations about sex, masturbation, sex, fantasy, sex, and pleasure. Talking about porn without talking about those other things before would certainly be complicated and awkward. Now, look, there's nothing wrong with porn for adults. Kids should simply not look at it, and we should tell them why. It relies on certain understandings and experiences of sexuality that kids just don't have. It contains images that they might find troubling, and they won't be willing to talk about it. And it presents unusual bodies doing unrealistic things in fictional situations, some or all of which kids might think depict reality. While we can't prevent kids from looking for and finding porn with their phones and devices, we can make them less curious and therefore less motivated by providing the information they want and need, even when they don't ask. And with wisdom from their parents and other adults, kids are more likely to ask questions about what they see. So, parents, if you don't want porn teaching your kids about sex, you do it. And tell the other institutions around you to help also. Thanks for joining me. Hey, I publish one of these video quickies every few weeks. So if you like, go to the bottom of your screen. There's a red subscribe button. Click on it, and you'll get dinged whenever I publish a new one. Thanks for joining me.